All right, welcome to the Backstage Pass. We got a podcast here going on. It's a Twitch in the Box Sports Talk. Every week we're going to be breaking down games, talking about who the hot takes are for the week, and I don't know, we'll see. But here you go. We got the box. Come on.
The box here with the scratchy voice. We're going to start talking about the AFC East. Talk about the Bills first. They won the division. Went 13-4. A couple of losses they had. They lost Von Miller in the offseason. They lost most of their D-line subs. But they did re-sign Josh Allen to a 6-year, $350 million contract, which is a lot of money. Reigning MVP, he deserved it. Joey Bosa's on a 1-year contract, and then Trey White's on a 1-year contract. So I think the Bills are basically just reloaded. They haven't had a weapon, like a true number one weapon since Stephon Diggs. But he's really good at passing the ball around. He's got Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox is the other tight end. James Cook just got a new contract. I don't have the numbers. This got signed like yesterday, a couple days ago. But I'm excited about the Bill. I'm excited for the Bills because this kind of reloaded in a pretty shitty division.
Well, I think it's obvious now who your quarterback is. You can't get past that. And so, like, Josh Allen's, I think last year was more like the less is more. So they lose Diggs, and, what's Buffalo going to do? And then what's he do? He goes up and was an MVP.
Yeah.
So I think that Buffalo's on that short list. I think everyone knows that, like any team bearing injury, they're a top 3 or 4 actual contender in the AFC, probably top 2 or 3 teams. Yeah. So it's that's just it. Like you said, they've got quick guys that can get open, and Josh Allen will do the rest. And they have a pretty middle. It seemed like last year they added some pieces this off season. So to have their defense is one of those things like Kansas City where they're good for at least 24 in today's NFL, almost 30 points a game. Yeah. You can pretty much bank on Josh Allen. So I think Buffalo's the heavy favorite and obviously a heavy Super Bowl favorite. And I agree that they're just basically reloading.
Yeah. This reloaded everything. My prediction for the Bills this year, I say they win another game. They go 14-3 again. Really good year. They might get the first round bye because, like you said, they're with Josh Allen as their quarterback. They're going to be contending no matter who they have on their team. Got some studs. But let's roll to the next one here. We got I forgot to talk about they took a cornerback from Kentucky with the first round pick, so they're helping the defense out. Which their secondary was kind of been a liability, but with the new pick, hopefully forms into what they want them to.
Yeah,
solid up that defense.
Yeah, they solidified the defense. I think had some nice pieces in the offseason, as well as another big thing for Buffalo last year, the last couple of years, is an inconsistent run game. If they can give Josh Allen a run game, and make those short 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 late in the game, it's just And I think the other thing that I don't think it's enough credit is I think McDermott. I know that they've fallen short. I said, but it's not from him putting in bad position. So I think I just trust McDermott. Out of anybody else, other than the other one I'm assuming we'll talk about in the AFC East that I'm excited about, is I'm a Mike Vrabel believer, so I'm interested to see in the East. But that's Buffalo. That's another thing, too, I don't think it's talked about enough is McDermott's, I think, a top 5-6 coach, and he's consistent. So, it'll be exciting to see what Buffalo does. They are fun to watch.
Yeah, it's a fun team to watch. Yeah. Let's go to the next team here. We got go with Miami. Miami went 8-9 last year. They lost Jonnu Smith, Armstead, backup running back, or he was started last year because Acme got hurt. But he's going to be a guy coming back from injury this year that'll be good. They lost Javon Holland, they signed Holland, Fuller, Ramsey. Oh, they lost Javon Holland, a stud safety, Jordan Poyer, who's a little bit older now, but still a solid defensive player. But I say they drafted Quinn Ewers back. He's going to be back up to Tua, but Tua's injury history, it's always nice to have a little bit of depth at the quarterback position. And same thing with Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State running back. Didn't have a great year last year, but he's had a really good preseason up to this point. But I say they go 9-8. They win one more game than they did last year. Because what McDaniel did his first year was really good, a lot of motions and shifts and all this crazy stuff with Tyreek Hill. But it seemed like last year they were more predictable. People knew what was coming. That's why. It also doesn't help inconsistent quarterback play. Defensive line plays off. But I think they'll be okay. But I don't think they're going to be anything special this year.
I think that's an accurate depiction or prediction in that, I think I'm going to go back to the Buffalo thing and just say I think that you're pretty close with the 14. I'm going to say 13-4, 12-5. But it's going back to Miami. I think that 8-9, 9-8, they'll be one of those teams that's probably in the back. It's depending on the health and like how like the other pieces they add on the offensive line. If they can keep Tua healthy, I said he's still, in my eyes, middle of the pack. I always thought, no offense, was overrated, but he's still like that middle of the pack can win in this league. He's shown that. You still got a good 1-2 combo. They did lose the tight end to Pittsburgh, I said, but they still had other guys that stepped in. And then, I think that they'll be like those teams in the middle of the pack fighting for a playoff spot, anywhere from that 7 to 10, 11 team. Like when you get the Steelers and probably the Colts, I'm interested to see with Daniel Jones this year. Yeah. Those kind of teams that'll be fighting for a playoff spot, but just not real contenders. I think that 8 and 9, 9 and 8 is probably a good spot for them.
They got two of the fastest receivers in the league, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Like they're going to be an explosive offense,
right?
But if you can't have a run game to back them up,
right?
Like you can't,
right? Well, and they all another again. I do know a little bit of football more than the Steelers, I said, but like it's interesting to see that the last couple of years he hasn't been the player that that we had seen. I said, but Minkah Fitzpatrick's still a great all pro type level at his best and when healthy. So like Miami getting him back, that also definitely helped their secondary. And it'll be interesting to see. I think it'll be Miami and New England as the 2 and 3 in that division.
Yeah, and they also Darren Waller came out of retirement, enjoying him such an explosive threat at tight end. He's not Jonnu Smith level, but Darren Waller still adds an extra level. You have a 6'5" guy that's fast, good.
Yeah.
But let's roll on to the Patriots. I'm really excited about the Patriots this year. They lost David Andrews to retirement, both the backup quarterbacks, which doesn't really matter because Drake May seems to be their guy. They're going to roll with him for a while. But they added Stephon Diggs, who's a veteran wide receiver, kind of has some drama problems. Like, didn't really know if he's a good leader or not, but he's still a weapon they have. Austin Hooper is a solid old tight end. Carlton Davis. And then I think Mike Vrabel is the biggest offseason addition because Mike Vrabel just brings a tone that, like, I'm pretty sure they would have hired Mike Vrabel last year, but it's hard to follow a coaching. Like, it's hard to step in behind Bill Belichick and try to set your own culture. So, but I think Vrabel's going to be huge. They went 4-13 last year. I say they go 10-7, if not better. Like, Mike Vrabel, I think Drake May can do the job. They have a decent running back rotation, and their defense, they have that young corner, not Gonzalez. He got hurt last year, but they have a solid defense. Patriots have always had a good defense. Mike Vrabel's a defensive guy. Like, I could see the Patriots being really good. And they also drafted Will Campbell to hold down the left tackle spot. He's, everybody says he's a little undersized, but he just seems to have that dog in him. He doesn't care. He's going to go out there and play hard. And same thing, Trevon Henderson, Ohio State running back, runs the ball hard. You play in New England. It's going to be cold late season. I feel like Patriots 10-7 makes the playoffs.
Wow.
Mike Vrabel takes them.
See, I think they'll definitely see a big improvement. Like I have them more at the 7-10 range, maybe 8-9. But that's because I'm a believer. Like even when Vrabel, I feel, was unjustifiably fired from Tennessee, I think there were a lot of other extenuating circumstances with that situation. But Mike Vrabel's one of those guys. I mean, you can tell. It's like even in their prime years when Derrick Henry and stuff, I said those guys that Mike Vrabel obviously brings a certain attitude, and they're going to be competitive every game, even in years they missed the playoffs, down to the last week. So I think that, and you're talking about a guy that won Super Bowls, obviously, with Belichick, so now you get back to a guy, as cliche as it sounds, where they know is familiar with the tradition of. I think it's going to help their defense a lot, as well as Vrabel. If you remember when they were going to multiple playoff visits, they said, they had some nice offensive pieces, but I was just going to say with, of course, everyone remembers Ryan Tannehill coming out from Miami. I said, and you look at those 2 years, granted, Arthur Smith, who's now in Pittsburgh, great offensive coordinator for that kind of style. But I think that'll fit into May's strengths and more like by committee rather than asking. I don't know if I'm a firm believer in him, but it's obvious that between Vrabel and the biggest thing I think for the Patriots is going to be Drake May's continued development. How does he develop this year? That's going to be
if he takes that
huge step. I could see them going closer to what you're saying and even being the number 2 seed over Miami. I'm not a firm believer. Or I could see the Jets, depending what happens with Fields, which we'll get to in a minute. I could see the New England to me is a complete wild card, and I think May and Vrabel are the 2 main reasons for that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because and if he takes that step, they could be elite.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on how big of a step he takes.
I still don't know who they're going to get the ball to, though. That's
Yeah, it's going to
my
be
biggest thing.
Stephon Diggs.
And we got to see Drake because they weren't in those situations last year. You still have to see how's he going to respond when it's a one-score game. When you're getting blown out by 2 touchdowns to, I don't know, I don't have it right in front.
Yeah.
I actually have it in front of me, but should have done my research. I'll be ready for week 1.
Yeah.
But when they're blowouts, it's a lot different. So we'll see. I have them a little bit lower, but I think they'll definitely show up. Only having 4 wins last year, Mike Vrabel just alone is going to make that a more competitive team.
Yeah. Let's roll on to the last team in this division. The Jets went 5-12 last year. Really, just a weird year in general. It felt like for the Jets. Lost Aaron Rodgers, Tay Adams, Trayvon Smith, Solomon Thomas, C.J. Mosley, Jay Mills. They lost some dudes, but also Adams was there on a 1-year deal or on a trade last midseason to help Aaron Rodgers. They put all the chips in the middle for Rodgers and it just didn't work out for him for whatever reason. A lot of things, but they did add Justin Fields on a 2-year contract. They re-up Garrett Wilson, who was an amazing young receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Sauce Gardner got re-up, so they have their core pieces. Now they just got to put it all together.
Yeah.
And you got everybody forgets, but they have Breece Hall still.
Mm-hmm.
Great running back, runs the ball consistent running back if he's not hurt. And then they took a tackle at number 7, and so they're revamping the offensive line, which was part of the problem with Rodgers there. They never had a true, really good, cohesive offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have Aaron Glenn, Detroit Lions D coordinator from last year, who won them all those games when everybody was still hurt. I think he's going to bring a level of intensity still. But I have them kind of like what you said with the Patriots. They're still got to build stuff. Got to see if Fields can be a consistent quarterback for not on the Bears because the Bears never have good quarterbacks. But I say they go 5-12 again. I mean, they'll win some games they're not supposed to, but it's still going to be a rough year because their defense will be better. But you still got it takes a while to build back from what the Jets are or where they're at because they're in a rough spot.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's I don't feel it's that guy that's obviously going to get you over the hump. I said going back to Pittsburgh and Chicago, it's obviously if he has a good run game, he can manage it well. And he learned last year when the 6 starts he had in Pittsburgh, he started off 4-2, and everybody thought, why are they making the switch? I was one of those people, and then Wilson played pretty well. We all know how that ended, or I know how that ended. But Fields says if he has pieces and they have their defense shored up, I feel like he said they could steal a couple wins. I said I have them more at that 6 and 11 spot. Breece Hall is a stud. Garrett Wilson's a stud. They have that number 1 corner with Sauce Gardner, still top 5. But it's still it's going to be the secondary pieces. How do those second running back and then again we could say this for any team, but with their injuries, a lot of injuries on the O-line last year, so that'll be huge for Fields. Obviously, it's good that Justin Fields is mobile. But after Garrett Wilson, I'm interested in seeing that number 2 receiver and the other backup spots on the defense. I think that'll the depth of the Jets. And I know a lot of people that I have seen a little bit. I have been in the offseason have the Jets a lot higher than that. But I'm closer to what you said, more like the 6 and 11.
Yeah.
I have them finishing in 4th in the division.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to come back from where
they
went all in on Aaron Rodgers. They brought all these old skill players in, and it didn't pan out for whatever reason you want to blame.
And I was a believer in Salah, so like I said, with any team, so I think there'll be at least an improvement because when you're making a change mid-season, it takes a couple games. So then it's just kind of so I think by that, and they have a pretty favorable schedule because of how they played last year. So like I said, they'll probably steal some wins, but they're not a contender in my book.
Let's switch it up to the AFC East here. Or we just did AFC North. I wrote it down wrong here. Let's go. Let's go Ravens. Ravens. I mean, Lamar Jackson, always a weapon. They lost Trey White, Nelson Aguilar, Justin Tucker is going to be a big loss for them. Because he was kind of slumping down a little bit, but you still have a consistent kicker you can count on. But they re-upped King Henry, who's still a top 10 running back, if not top 5 running back in the league. He's still a dude. Unless you bet on him in the playoffs, then he's not a dude, which I did. They re-upped Bateman, who's one of Lamar's favorite targets. D-Hop got a 1-year deal down there, so he got another true at like wide receiver X1 type player. And then Jair Alexander, who's a little bit of an older cornerback, but to come in and help that secondary because Kyle Hamilton's still a dude. Their D line's still great. Like I say, the Ravens go 13-4, really good team again. Like Lamar's going to do Lamar things. Having Mark Andrews coming back, a little bit older of a player still, but he's still going to be consistent. Yeah, he can't, and he's probably pissed off about dropping that pass in the end zone in the playoffs. Like
absolutely, because for only a few times that Jackson actually showed up to play that playoff game. So
I feel like this is a team that have a chip on their shoulder going into this year, and they take another safety with the first overall pick, number 27. Like they have two, like they're solid up the defense. Offense is still going. Their offensive line's always top 5 because they just run the shit out of the ball. But yeah, I mean, Ravens will be good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have them at that 12-5 spot. I'm hoping we can steal one of them. We usually steal at least one from them.
Yeah,
but that being said, again, it goes back to quarterback coach. I'm a believer in Harbaugh. He's shown like he's usually good for at least a playoff win. And people don't really realize this. So when Baltimore for a lot of the season was like second in the division, they lost a lot of games late. I said, but towards the end of the year, nobody wanted to play them. The defense got squared up. I said, now you have some other depth guys they brought in from signing, and then on top of, like you said, they drafted one to go along with Hamilton, who's still a top 3 or 4 safety, can play coverage, can lay the hit. So It's just like you got somebody back there. That defense is still going to be top 10, top 12 in my prediction. And so the same thing. Jackson's good for 24 if he stays healthy, 24, 27 points a game. It's hard. That's what the talk was last year, and it came to fruition. Bringing in Henry, if you gave him an extra competitive team, does he still have those legs to carry the team? Well, obviously he doesn't have to, but like, good luck on running an option whether you have that split second, you get to try to tackle somebody that's still 260 pounds and a more athletic Jerome Bettis. You don't want to see the references. But, Baltimore, I think it's going to be, they'll be 12-5. So yeah.
Yeah, and then you always forget their unsung hero. That offense is Patrick Ricard. Yeah. Offensive lineman playing fullback. Dude, and that's a lot of weight in the backfield. Yeah. Plus, he got shipped to Lamar Jackson.
Well, yeah, and that's just it. So they might not have the biggest things, but they've got a lot of fast shifty guys where you get Jackson buys that extra time. It's hard to, and then you're also having to account for Henry, and they got some other guys out of the background. Like I said, got a lot of nice weapons, as well as, like I said, obviously Harbaugh and the Ravens are also always known for their defense. So I agree. I think they'll be 12-5. I think they will win the division, unfortunately. But the biggest question for that is like whether they can obviously get over the hump
in the playoffs. Man. But
let's hope.
Let's roll into Pittsburgh here. Pittsburgh 10-7 last year. Added Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph came back, traded for DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, Juan Thornhill. TJ got re-upped. They lost Najee Harris, which was a consistent running back. He was never the best running. He wasn't a world breaker, but 1,000 yards every year.
Absolutely
consistent running back. Pickens is gone. Minkins got traded to Miami. So you lost some pieces. They got rid of the whole quarterback room, but they brought in. They got A-Rod is coming back. It'd be interesting. Mason Rudolph. He's won games for them before. And then my most interesting one is Will Howard, who they drafted. I like Will Howard a lot, kind of an underdog player, which seems like Tomlin likes. He likes somebody that people doubt. But I say, in the name of the Steelers, they go 9-8 again, just because it's the Steelers. Tomlin's not going to lose, and they're going to be good, but it just depends on consistency. I feel like this team, it runs off the quarterback this year because they got dudes, and DK Metcalf is a freak receiver. And this will be his first time with like a true QB1. Like Geno Smith is good. Not taking anything away from Geno. But it's his first time with like a top 10 all-time quarterback.
Yeah.
A-Rod, he's still older, but he still has plays. We saw that with the Jets. He still can do all the shifty stuff he used to do, even though he's old as shit. So.
First of all, am I on video too?
No.
Oh, I was just gonna say, because if you can see this, I actually am twitching, so you figure out real quick why this show is called Twitch. So anyway. No, I think that's a really impressive analogy, so I'll try to keep it as short as I can. But what a little bit I do know, I know my Steelers die hard for 32 years, but it's just like it's hard to be as excited because we've seen you nailed it on the head about 8-9 straight years 2016 since the last. It all sounds like a broken record. You hear the never had a losing record, but the last 9 years it's the same thing. They're going to finish. I'll call it right, and I would bet anything in this. Like I'd bet the house on it. They'll finish 9-8, 10-7. They will finish somewhere between the 7 to 9 seed, like right outside the playoffs. They'll either be the first 1 or 2 teams needing a win, or somebody to lose that last week, and they'll make it in, be the last team in, or they'll be the first team out. And if they do make it, they'll get their ass kicked in the first round of the playoffs. So, and I think you said you're right. Obviously, the quarterback play. I still think Aaron Rodgers, coming back after a year being not only older, but like after the injury and not a very offensive line, a lot of disarray in New York. I think he'll be better. I'm not thrilled about the pick just because I think he's an all-time great, but I also think that Aaron loves him some Aaron. So,
Yeah.
and that's not even to talk shit. But the alternative to that would have been having Mason Rudolph for the whole season. And it's like, he's done a lot for Pittsburgh, but I've not been a believer. I've seen that in 2019 when Big Ben went down. So it's like, he's a nice backup piece. I think Rodgers still has a little bit, but I think Pittsburgh's hoping for like a Brett Favre in Minnesota type. We're going to try to capture it.
Yeah,
they signed a lot of guys that if you would have said 5 years ago and traded for it like on Madden, if you're like, oh, we got Jalen Ramsey and we got Aaron Rodgers and all these guys, Darius Slay in the slot. So they've got some pieces. And like I said, TJ Watt, one of my all-time favorite players. Like I think he's one of the, other than Aaron Donald, biasly, like probably the second best of the last 15 years in his prime. He can still bring it. I said, and they've got some nice pieces. If Highsmith stays healthy, I said they got a nice, what Pittsburgh does. So if they have those two guys rushing the quarterback, but it's a pass-heavy league, and that's the end of the year last year with some injuries, it was a lot about not stopping the run. Oh, Pittsburgh always, just by their reputation, they can stop the run. Well, Baltimore just ran it like down their throat, like the big brother. Like, they had it for 307 yards. So, like, I don't know how much that has to do with the attrition, about how hardcore Mike Tomlin. That's a testament to him and a curse, but like how he runs that team. I don't think at the end of the year that they're true contender. I mean, like I said, last year we looked at it. I can talk off the top of my head, but they started off 10-3, surprised a lot of people. I'm like, okay. And then they started playing. They played the Ravens twice. They played the Bengals when they got hot. They played the Chiefs, and they played the Eagles. And so obviously the Eagles, Chiefs, and all 5, they lost the last 5 games of the season. That just goes to show as far as when it came to competitive teams, and not even close, got their ass kicked in all 5 games. So that just goes to show. As a diehard Steelers fan for life, and they are testing it this offseason. But I will say, I have them at that 9-8, 10-7. They still have that, like they're still always competitive. Mike Tomlin doesn't have a losing record. They'll steal some games they shouldn't, as well as they'll lose some games they shouldn't. That's just, I've seen this this is 19 years now. I said, but they do have some good, like I said, I really didn't like or agree with the loss of letting Najee Harris go. Because he was, especially in the last 2 or 3 years when he was healthy, it was that November, December. That's when Pittsburgh. And when Kenny Pickett, I think he got shafted. But they built that. They found out that formula when they made the playoffs with Mason Rudolph a few years ago. Yeah. It was because they've had a run game. Jalen Warren is a very underrated player, like little Mighty Mouse. I said he's out of the backfield. He's like a Darren Sproles type. So they have some nice pieces. And the other thing is like, I still question the biggest thing. Sorry, I'm almost done with Pittsburgh. Obviously, it's my team.
Yeah, it's your team.
But the other thing, and like Freiermuth kind of had an underrated season, but he's still a solid tight end. But I think and they have some nice pieces on offense. I said, but I think that this is why I shouldn't be lying.
As a Steelers fan, I want to get your opinion real quick. I have a couple of these, but how did you feel about bringing in DK and then getting rid of Pickens right after?
I'm glad you said that, because actually that's one of the 2 things I wanted to mention was, it's like the biggest thing is and I guess it's a testament to Rodgers when they let other guys go and Jordy was getting older to make no offense, but some of the no-name slot type guys. So I think that'll help with Rodgers and that style of offense, and Arthur Smith be able to game plan. But that I don't get, because Pickett gets this label of being a prima donna, but the guy can make every single catch. And when he was given the opportunity, I know I'm gonna sound crazy, but it's like Jamar Chase and those guys deserve to be one. But Pickens, as far as like natural freak talent, the catches you see every week, he's just a freak athlete. Love him, love the attitude. And when they get mad, it's because we had a middle school offense 2 years ago. So for real. So it's like I see his frustration. There were a couple of immature plays where he gave up, but he bounced back. And I didn't understand how. One of the biggest question marks we didn't address last year was not having a number 2 receiver. So I love DK Metcalf. He's a stud. And I was like, I didn't know if that was the move to make. But then I was like, okay, well, now we got Pickens and Metcalf, so that's something. And then we get rid of Pickens after the draft and don't get anything for him. I'm like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, wasn't it like a 5th-round pick?
Yeah,
Like
for
something
nothing.
crazy.
And so like I did not like that at all. I like Metcalf. I was like, Metcalf has the more established career, so with Pickens that goes on the more up and up.
Yeah.
But I know Tomlin likes to get rid of guys if we don't want hostages. Like we want people that want to be here. So more power to you. 9-8, 10-7. But I think they're putting a lot of hope in that the wide receiver Roman Wilson from Michigan 2 years ago. He was hurt, like good slot guy. So I think they're looking at that to go along with Metcalf. We'll see. But 9-8, 10-7. Cusp of playoffs, either like a 7-seed or one of the first teams out.
Oh, let's roll to Cincinnati here. Cincinnati finished 9-8 after when they start 0-5.
Yeah.
They started really bad, came back 9-8, almost made the playoffs. Literally the first team out of the playoffs. They re-signed Jamar and T. Higgins, who nobody thought was going to happen, and because it's 2 wide receiver number ones. And they re-signed him to a $116 and $115 million deal. And they did list Trent Brown, Sam Hubbard retired, Schoen Rankins, solid D lineman. And then as of today, they are looking to trade Trey Henderson, who had 17.5 sack leader last year. They announced today, since they can't find a deal, they're looking to trade him. So their defense, which was a problem last year, like Joe Burrow was out there putting up Madden stats, just time to keep up. They were losing games 52-50. Like, I don't know if that was an actual score, but it seemed like it was a shootout every game.
Yeah.
But I say Cincinnati goes 11-6. I mean, they'll be good. Joe Burrow's another guy that they're going to be in it. Joe Burrow slings the rock. He's got 2 wide receiver number ones. Never really had a run game, so they're just going to throw the ball down the field wherever they're going. Just really, if the defense can figure it out, they're a dangerous team. Yeah. But the defense hasn't been able to figure it out, so they're not a dangerous team, especially if they're getting rid of Trey Henderson.
Yeah.
And they drafted, I had his name down here. They drafted Sherman Stewart out of Mississippi State, and then they had a contract. They already fought with him. Like, they already didn't want to sign him, or he didn't want to sign because of some stipulations. So, like, they had 2 number 1 pass rushers, and now getting rid of him, they're back to only one dude. So it's losing Sam Hubbard on the inside is tough, because that's like a lunch pail guy, you would say. Hey, he just comes, he goes to work, he doesn't care about the stats, he doesn't care about anything. He just shows up, does what he's supposed to, and goes home.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're more like the 10-7, 11-6. I think if they do end up losing Henderson, that's a huge loss, because I do think he sets the tone for that defense.
Yeah.
As much as I hate the Bengals being a Steelers fan, I said I am a huge Joe Burrow fan. I said I think he just usually backs it up, and how quickly people forget that people want to put, and maybe I don't agree with it, but they want to preemptively go ahead and put Hurts and some of those guys. I still have Burrow as 2 or 3. Like, he's up there with the Allen, and I would say even more consistent. I know he didn't have the athleticism of Jackson, but if you were, I mean, let's be honest, with the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl the last 3 years and 5 of the 6, it's like there's only one guy out of that group that's actually beat Mahomes. And I can tell you as a Steelers fan, I don't necessarily like it, even when they don't have a right to be cocky. Said, but Cincinnati is not scared of Kansas City, and I think they're welcome. I actually think Cincinnati is going to be they'll be the 2nd team out of the AFC North, and I think they will be a playoff team. And like you said, I don't have the stats right in front of me, but they lost 4 or 5 games. I think they had a record where he threw for like 350 yards and 4 touchdowns 4 or 5 weeks in a row. I mean, like you said, they were literally putting up Madden type numbers. And like you said, I'm concerned their biggest thing, like you said, is going to be the defense this year. And sorry, we got my Uncle Greg here giving sign language. I mean, truly, yeah. But no, I think that the biggest thing is that obviously they're going to be the defense. And I said, if they end up losing Henderson, that's a huge loss, because Burrow was just trying to carry the team last year. I said, but I trust them in those moments, and I think they started to figure it out last year. That was a team that nobody wanted to see get into the playoffs. That's the biggest thing is their defense. The offense, like they got so much money to keep those guys, and they still have this core nucleus. It's like where they dump a lot of money, but they're still in their prime. But they know they have 3 or 4 years. So we'll see what kind of the other pieces they add, what kind of impact they have. I said, but I think 10-7, 11-6, they'll be a dangerous team. So I wouldn't be shocked. Maybe that'll be my bold prediction is AFC Championship or at least divisional round, knocking off a higher seed like a Buffalo or Baltimore. Hope not, but Kansas City. It's like I just Joe Burrow in those moments. I said I still trust, and so I said, yeah.
Let's roll into the
surprising.
Yeah, roll into the Browns. In my opinion, this most interesting team in the NFL right now, just in terms of pure, what the hell are we doing? So they add Joe Flacco.
Sorry, they're doing Cleveland type thing.
Yeah, it really is. Their quarterback room is the most Cleveland quarterback room I've ever seen in my life. Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett. They signed Devin Bush. Myles Garrett comes back after he says, "Get me the hell out of here." They threw $123 million his way, and he said, "I'll come play. I'll come back and play." But their quarterback room consists of Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Deshaun Watson's still there. He hasn't got any reps. He's just hanging out because if they cut him, they're going to lose like $85 million in cap space.
Oh yeah.
And then they draft 2 quarterbacks, Shadur Sanders, which was biggest talk at the draft. And then they take Dylan Gabriel out of Oregon. So their quarterback room, I mean, Joe Flacco's won a Super Bowl way back in the day. Kenny Pickett has a Super Bowl ring. Shadur Sanders is an interesting quarterback, if you ask me. I don't know. My opinion on Shadur is different. I don't really like I like his play. I feel like he padded his stats a lot of Colorado, so he's not as good. He can make the throws. I'm just saying he's average compared to everything else. They lost DTR, who I thought was a really interesting quarterback. They could have played, and they also lost Jameis Winston, my favorite quarterback other than Bo Nix in the NFL.
Ticks, right?
I love Jameis Winston. It's always something.
5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, maybe both.
That's what he did against the Broncos last year. Like, had a crazy game. Lost Nick Chubb, who was a bell cow to him. Isaiah Ford's their running back. I think he's going to be good. They brought Judkins in, who's other running back from Ohio State, who's a shifty guy. It'll be interesting how they use him. Jerry Jeudy had a breakout year, which I always hoped he'd have in Denver, but whatever. Yeah, good for him. But I feel like with this many quarterbacks on the roster, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Yeah, somebody's going to get – because I'm guessing they're going to keep 3 of these guys, and then Gabriel might go on practice squad. But Shadur probably gets sent somewhere because it's just the allure of Shadur Sanders. But I say they go 2-15 because it's the Browns. They went 3-14 last year. I say they go 2-15. I feel like it's a shit show down there. Stefanski's good. Stefanski's a really good coach. I mean, coach of the year 3 years ago. But I say they have a terrible year just because I feel like there's at least, I say 3 quarterbacks at least start for them this year.
Yeah. I just have too much comments because I'm not going through the wins loss. Like, I don't know if it's mathematically possible if I went through each individual game. But so I don't know. I haven't, because that's the thing of the NFL now is parity.
Yeah.
So, but it's all that I think of that 7-10, 6-11 range. Like Stefanski's not, even with that, they don't have the talent, they don't have the pieces, and he's not quite at that level, but he's still a good coach, and they'll keep him competitive, especially in such a hard, I think the 2 best divisions, obviously, in the, no offense to the East or the South, but are obviously the West and the North.
Yeah.
So in that competitive division, I think Cleveland will be a lot better. They still have Myles Garrett, and Joe Flacco. How good of a story was that a couple of years ago?
Yeah, comeback player of the year.
Right. Even being a Browns fan and former quarterback, I said it's hard not to root for a guy that literally came off the couch. And so I think he'll obviously be the one to start the year. They might get a couple wins, I said, but then age will start to show. They'll kind of said, and that's when I never felt that Kenny Pickett got a fair shot anywhere he's been in Pittsburgh. I said he has his 2 best games, gets hurt, and they put in Rudolph for the rest of the year, and he did a lot of things his rookie year. But it is what it is. They know more than I do for 2 different teams. There's a reason. I said, but if there's injury or a struggle, that's the one thing I guess is that where none of them are stand out. Obviously, the big wild card is going to be Sanders. They obviously didn't draft him, and to get him where they got him was a good spot for them. I'm not a 100% believer, but he does do a lot of nice things. Like he's got the athletic talent, obviously the pedigree being Deion Sanders. It is what it is. But I also agree with you that when you're going, I don't know off the top of my head, 8-5 or whatever it is, and you're putting up huge stat numbers to BYU. Nothing against a good team of college, but still, just being realistic. Like, you know what I mean? When you're finishing 4th in the Pac-12 or South, whatever, Pac West South, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I said I think by the end of the year, Sanders will be the starting quarterback. But I said it's good in the situation that if Flacco gets hurt or struggles early, which again I think he's a vet and he's obviously. I think the guys responded to him, and I think he's a great mentor for 2 young quarterbacks and a guy now that's had to be in that role now in 2 different places for Joe Flacco. I think he'll be a great mentor for both Sanders, and he just seems like that kind of stand-up type guy, and even Pickett that's had flashes, but you know what I mean, number 2 quarterback. So like at least solidifying that rule, and then if that goes south, they have Pickett to come in and like maybe not look as non-competitive, but again, I don't think that they'll have a decent run game. They'll still have a decent defense. They have a decent coach, but too many moving pieces, too many question marks. I think, and they're just Cleveland, baby.
Yeah,
5-12, 6-11. So,
on to AFC South here. Texans won the division last year at 10-7. When I think of the Texans, I think of when they had 5 picks against the Lions last year and still lost. Absolutely crazy. They brought in Nick Chubb, Christian Kirk comes in, Trent Brown, Danielle Hunter, Derek Singletary gets re-upped, CJ gets signed or traded down there for a 6th-round pick, which is crazy because he's always a solid guy. They lost Stephon Diggs, Larry Tunsil retires, Jeff Okudah left. And so the Texans, I say they go 10-7 again. CJ Stroud has proven that he's top 10 quarterback in the league. Probably he can sling the rock around. He plays. They play good. DeMarco Murray, I think's their head coach's name. He always brings a level of intensity. Their defense was good last year. I mean, they have Will Anderson coming off the edge. They have I can't think of the other young guy's name that they drafted like last year. But they'll be good again. They'll be good, especially in my opinion, the worst division in the NFL. The Colts might be competitive this year, but who knows what's happening down in Jacksonville, and then who knows what happened with the Titans? Because the Titans, since they got rid of Vrabel, it seems like it's just been all over the place. Yeah. So,
no, I think that the Texans are the obvious favorite. You know, so Stroud took a step back, and again, there were some other outside reasons for that. But like Stroud's still a good quarterback, young quarterback. I think that they'll probably finish around the 10-7 range. They play some hard games at the very beginning, very end of the schedule, playing the West and playing Matthew Stafford and playing. I mean, they definitely have the offensive firepower to keep up. And you saw that playoff game last year, so where they kept picking off with the Chargers. Yeah. So I said they have some good pieces like where they'll be better than average. And even last year playing in Kansas City when they played Kansas City really close, honestly should have won that game. Kansas City was obviously the better team. I said, but like Houston at its best, and I agree, like that's probably the weakest division in my opinion in the AFC. So they'll stack some wins there. So I am curious to see them play the Baltimores, the San Francisco, those types of teams on the road, the Chargers. So I said like it'll be interesting. I said I think they'll be at that 10-7 range. It's a good spot for them. Because I think they're better than the teams such as Steelers or Dolphins and stuff like that. But I don't think that it'll be interesting. I think they'll be 10-7. That's where I have them. But I have them as winning the division as well.
Yeah. An interesting team. We're on to the Colts here. Colts went 8-9 last year. Daniel Jones added Mo Alley Cox, came back, Tre'Davious Ward. They lost Flacco, who was a solid veteran leader in there. Ryan Kelly retires, amazing offensive lineman. And then EJ Manuel's gone. But I feel like Colts are interesting. Anthony Richardson got, I don't know if it was season ending, but he's going to miss the start of the NFL season with the surgery already. So D. Jones won the quarterback competition, I guess you could say. But they did draft Tyler Warren, who is a really interesting. I mean, I thought Warren would go earlier in the draft than they did. I thought he was going to go top 10, but really good tight end. They have Michael Pittman. He's a solid wide receiver. He's kind of underrated, but he's always consistent. Jonathan Taylor's coming back. Jonathan Taylor's, again, top 15 running back. He's just consistent. Don't want to call him typical, but he's a typical Wisconsin running back. He's going to pound the ball. He's going to run hard. It'll be interesting to see if the Daniel Jones last year was just a fluke. Last year was just a fluke, getting out of the terrible situation that was going on with the Giants and see if he can come out and ball out. And I'm just interested to see what happens. I mean, the Colts, I have them going 10-7. I feel like they'll be good. They'll win more games than last year. But again, like, can they beat the Ravens of the world? Can they beat the Texans once? Can they beat them twice? Like, can they beat these guys that are going to be perennial contenders? Because they got to prove that they deserve to be out there.
Yeah, I think I have Indy a little bit lower than that. I have him probably at the 8, 9, 9 and 8 range. I do think that Daniel Jones is obviously one of the top 3 or 4 names I keep hearing about as far as like comeback player of the year. He's shown flashes where there were a lot of questions early in his career, and he was in a different situation in New York, and he made the plays and had taken steps to to make the playoffs or come close. And then obviously, um, last year was what it was for New York and losing Saquon Barkley and some other pieces. But I think the thing that for Jones always was like he'll have like it's just really inconsistent, and so he has those flashes. I said, but then in the games, it's eliminating those mistakes and showing up consistently because then he'll have 2 or 3 average performances, and then he'll just have one that's against Philadelphia or something where you're not really expecting it. So like he's shown flashes. I don't know if he's not necessarily a long-term guy, obviously, but I am interested. It's like you say, especially with Richardson starting the year, possibly. They say what I heard was that he still expects to be ready for week 1. We'll see. I said, but yeah, I think so. They stay with Pittman and Pierce and a couple of other pieces. They have a good offensive line. Jonathan Taylor, like you said, he's always been consistent. So it's like they have some nice pieces on offense. And again, I really they have kind of a more difficult schedule. So I really question towards the middle of the year, playing at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City, Houston, which is divisional games are always close, at Jacksonville, at Seattle, people like that. They have a pretty rough stretch towards the last 2/3 of the end of the season. I think that they'll be the number 2 team out of the AFC South. But as far as like true playoff contenders, I don't see them as that. But we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, they might sneak in there. Like they'll be a cusp team.
Yeah.
Especially if they have good consistent quarterback play. Shane Steichen seems to be a good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been kind of a up and down with the Anthony Richardson saga and all that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the Jags were on.
I'm really interested too to see like the pickup like on their secondary, picking up former Chief Jadarvius Ward.
Yeah.
Like they have some nice pieces on the secondary as well. So that's something else I said with Franklin at the linebacker spot and I said with Daniel Jones. I said those are things I think that you'll see drastic improvement this year with the Colts.
Rolling to the Jags here. Jags went 4-13 last year. The only notable they added Manny Brown. I probably didn't say his first name right, but wide receiver. They lost Christian Kirk, Mitch Morris, Gabe Davis, and Evan Ingram were their biggest losses. Also last year, Lawrence was hurt, and then he wasn't, and then he was hurt again. So it's kind of on and off quarterback play. I'm not really a fan of the new coach just because he seems. I mean, I feel like every coach is a little bit of a weirdo, but the whole Duval thing kind of just threw me off. I was like, okay, buddy, that's probably not how you want to start your first press conference. But, I say they go 9-8 though because Trevor Lawrence is a decent quarterback. Like he'll make plays when he needs to. Trevor Etienne. It's Travis Etienne. It's get confused with his brother who plays at Georgia, but he's a decent running back when he's not hurt. He got hurt a lot last year, but losing Ingram's gonna hurt. I say 9-8. Like they're deep. Like you just don't know what you're gonna get out of Jacksonville. I feel like it's kind of a question mark team this year, especially because like Lawrence has been hurt the last couple years. He plays good, and then he won't play good, or he'll get hurt, and then you won't see him for a while. So I feel like it's an interesting situation down there.
Yeah, I have Jacksonville about that 7-10 range. I said I do think Trevor Lawrence is still up in the upper half, and he's still young enough. People forget just how fast the NFL 2 or 3 years goes. I said, you know what I mean? So on the up and up, a lot of moving pieces the last couple of years. Again, that's not all on him, and like you said, with injuries, Brian Thomas did some nice things, and of course, I think the big thing for Jacksonville, their big shiny new toy is if you're going to talk about Shadir Sanders, you got to talk about Travis Hunter. So with that being on both sides, I hadn't really seen since Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
There have been guys, but I'm just saying that kind of hype. And so to have him as a number 2 receiver, Strange is a decent tight end. Etienne's a great running back. I said, so if he stays healthy, he's good for, he's a lot of that offense. And so then it's like if he gets that 1,300 yards on top of shortening the field for Trevor Lawrence, I don't know what stands out. Forgive me, but on the Jaguars defense, And I said, I don't trust the head coach. Can we just bring back Jack Del Rio? I mean,
yeah, at this point,
yeah, can we just bring him back? I mean, at least they were fun to watch back then. But I think they'll surprise some people. Having only won 4 games last year, I said maybe I just give too much confidence. Where I just feel like there's so much parity where I'll give them the benefit of the doubt of 5, 6 wins, 7 for Trevor Lawrence. But I think most people in Jacksonville are more concerned about, they have the pool parties out in the stadium, which is great. I haven't been to that one yet, but
and they also
they still have a football team.
Yeah. Last year they brought in Brian Thomas, was a stud rookie receiver. He was in the running for offensive rookie of the year, speedster, making crazy catches. Yeah. So second year, hopefully he takes another step for him. Give Trevor Lawrence another weapon. But let's roll into the last one here. The last of this division, the Titans, 3-14 last year. Added Quandre Diggs, lost Quandre Diggs, lost Rudolph, but they added Tyler Lockett, Cody Barton, who had a really good season with the Broncos last year. Dan Moore, Sebastian Joseph Day is a solid defensive lineman. And they drafted Cam Ward, number 1 overall, which is probably the most underhyped number 1 overall pick of all time, in my opinion. Because everybody talked about Shedeur all draft, and Cam still went 1. But the Titans, who knows what the Titans are going to get? I mean, new coaching staff. But it's hard to tell because I just feel like ever since they lost Derrick Henry and Babel, they've been searching for an identity. And I don't know. I mean, having Tyler Lockett, he's a solid older receiver that'll bring some leadership to the room. But I feel like they go 4-13. No, I mean, not another good year, but they might steal a couple games. They might be better than that, but I feel like the Titans are just hard to judge because who knows what we're going to get out of Cam Ward. He might be the best rookie quarterback of all time. He might look terrible and break up Peyton Manning's interception record.
Well, I have him more about the same as last year. I have them about the 3-14, 4-13 spot. They still got, like you said, they got the good thing for them is they've got Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett, losing Hopkins, even though Hopkins is past his prime, obviously hurt them. And of course, Derrick Henry, Vrabel brought that attitude. I said I never thought they should have got rid of him, but having Ridley and Lockett will be a good veteran presence and give Ward some. I don't know if he's going to be the guy. Have they said whether Levis so far in camp will be the guy to start off the season, or is it going to be?
For the season. Season.
I told you I'm ill-informed.
Yeah, no, I'll be on
so preseason things to work out.
Yeah. So Ward's number 1. He's got the job now.
He's got obviously the athletic skills, but it goes back to the same thing as Sanders in that I really question Miami having that pedigree and then kind of falling off their program, and then back to at least that top 15. They're still not what they used to be, but did a lot of great things, made a lot of great athletic plays. As far as leading a franchise first year in no offense, a shit show situation in Tennessee, they're trying to make it better. Miami wasn't up for, it's they're not back in the 90s playing Florida State and stuff like that. So it's Miami's a lot better. Ward's a good player, but he said he wasn't doing it against the Ohio State and Michigan. I still have a lot of questions about that kind of talent. And on top of, they said they've got a bunch of guys that are older. It's a mixture. It's just they have a lot of young guys, and they've completely revamped the roster. Half of it they've got, which was every team. But it's it seems like they were either on the way out and veteran guys, or so they have guys that are really young, unproven. I think that 3-14, 4-13 is about right for Tennessee.
Let's roll into the arguably the best division in football, in my opinion. It's always, 3 playoff teams last year for the AFC side, the AFC West. I'll start with Kansas City, Super Bowl runner-up. Didn't get the 3-peat, but they're going to be good again. They added Gardner Minshew, who's, other than Jameis Winston, he's probably my other backup quarterback, just because the aura, man, he's crazy.
Always entertaining.
Trey Smith got re-signed. Karlaftis got upped. Nick Bolton got upped. Fulton got upped. They lost Hardman, Hopkins. Joe Thuney's going to be a big loss to them. It'll be interesting to see how they fill that one. Justin Reed's gone. They did draft Josh Simmons, offensive tackle, so hopefully he fills up that spot. But I say the Chiefs. Let's say the Chiefs go 15-2, 14-3 again. They'll be good. I mean, last year they won. I don't even know how many like Mahomes game-winning drive type plays. Like it was interesting, and then the Super Bowl happened, but it'd just be see. I say they're going to be good again. I mean, when you have Mahomes, who's in the running for greatest quarterback of all time, like if he keeps being consistently good like he is, he's going to take Brady's spot. Like AFC Championship every year that he started. It's hard to argue with that. And then Andy Reid's always going to have a good team. Spag's defense is always going to be running around making plays. Like they're going to be good. And then it would just be interesting to see if there's a team like Cincinnati, if they can get hot again. Like, are they going to knock him off in the playoffs like he did? Like you said earlier, Joe Burrow is the only guy to beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Like Joe Burrow, and they're obviously not scared of him. It was called Burrowhead for a little bit. Like they don't care. They're just letting it fly. So I think the Chiefs 14-3 will be good again because they always reload. They always seem to bring like, okay, we lost Hopkins and Hardman. Those are targets, but they have Worthy who's coming in. Yes, another year. Rashee Rice is coming back. He's going to miss a little bit of time because of his driving incident, but he'll be back. Kareem Hunt got re-signed. Kareem Hunt's Isaiah Pacheco will be back. Like, they'll be good. It'll just be interesting to see how good they're going to be. I feel like they're going to make the playoffs, obviously. Mahomes is going to keep you. Travis Kelce's in his last year, probably. Buying houses in Ohio. This is the Travis Kelce last dance.
Well, no, I think you got a good point. I think Kansas City, I have it anywhere from 14-3 down to even 12-5. So they did have a lot of losses. That was kind of the controversy. Last year somebody, are they the new Patriots getting the call? Yeah. But you could make 100 different calls like that for any game, and I mean, again, you can't get away from it. I said, but like Andy Reid, one of the all-time greatest coaches, and Mahomes, 8 straight years. I can't remember what off the top of my head what the record is with Brady. Whatever it was, 9, 10 straight AFC Championship appearances, but like it's literally on that level. I say this unbiasedly, but of like a Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, they're going to be in the AFC Championship game every year. Just off, and that's the thing too. Is like it honestly blows my mind that we still here talking about every year. Now it hurts over here, and the Eagles kick their butts. Or like you don't think Mahomes is going to come back just like he did after that Bucs Super Bowl? Come back and be motivated. He's just that kind of guy. Guarantee he was in there that next day. And he's none of those other guys have Allen. Burrow's made it to the Super Bowl, beat him once. I said, but who's got the head-to-head on top of, like I said, like who's been to 5, who's won 3? None of those other guys have done it. So every year comes up, who's a new sexy pick? And I like some of these guys, but like Allen, Jackson, Hurts, and Sanders coming in, and Ward. I'm just like, there's still only one quarterback in the NFL. That's the closest to, as much as I hate to say it, I respect the shit out of him, but Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. Yeah. It's like if the game's on the line, everyone does it. How much? 95% of the time, that's why people get pissed off last year. But like Tom Brady, if it comes down to within a score and there's a minute left, with very good confidence that Mahomes is going to get it done. Yeah, I mean, going to 5 Super Bowls, winning 3, they're gonna be there, and then when they've done it on that stage. On top of to go with Andy Reid, so one of the all-time greatest offensive minds of all time, going back from Green Bay to Philadelphia. And so they have some nice depth pieces. I do agree with you that Tony's going to be a little bit of a loss to them. So hopefully, but again, Mahomes is still, hopefully not as much now that he's, year 10, if you include the year he didn't start. I said, but still, like, obviously plenty agile. And it's just like, I think some of the other thing is with those other guys is Mahomes isn't usually throwing unless he has to the 70-yard bomb like he was his first couple of years. So like, this athletic play. But he's like Tom Brady when he had lost step in some ways, but he still, every year was getting there. It's like, because it's death by 1,000 cuts. And so, especially when Mahomes is smart enough, he doesn't have to prove it. He's won. That's fine. You can say what you want about him. I said, but he's smart enough. He can make every throw still. And then you have Andy Reid. So you have guys like that. And so, like you say, Hopkins down the end of his career. Like, not, I won't say that's the end of his career, but not what he was obviously in Houston. But you still have Rice, Hollywood Brown, some nice like pieces of the way if they can get open or they buy him time. Sky Moore, still athletic talent. Xavier Worthy. You got. Andy Reid's going to figure out, Noah Gray's still a good number 2 tight end. There's enough offensive weapons where Andy Reid, even with name people that aren't necessarily like ones or like what you think of, Andy Reid will find a way to utilize and get the most out of each guy. So again, it comes back to they're good for 24, 27 points every single game just because Mahomes is going to find more often than not. I mean, 4 drives where you're going to score a touchdown. If you can hold Mahomes to that, that's a hell of a game. And on top of that, like their defense, I think re-signing Bolden. I said some of the other, like Arloftus and some of that those defensive pieces. Yeah, it's just business as normal in Kansas City. Obviously, Kelsey's had flashes where he looked a little bit slower last year, but that's because he brought it every year for years. And he's got some. I don't blame the guy for what he's got going on in this world. Like, more power to. They get tired of him. It's like successful TV show. Like, love his podcast. But he said he can still, like, if the game's on the line, he said that's still Mahomes' security blanket, and he said he's still got enough, like 4 or 5 really quality, good offensive players. I said, Kansas City, I don't see how they don't. They'll be fighting for the number 1 spot in the AFC. They'll most likely be in the AFC Championship game. It's hard to bet against Mahomes. It's like every year, even in the prime of Big Ben, like every year after Tom Brady won his first one, it was like every year after that until he retired, it's like, well, I'm going to pick Tom Brady to go to the Super Bowl. Until I might be wrong more.
Yeah.
No, I'm right. May not like it, may not agree with it, but like it's hard to bet against him. So Mahomes deserves that kind of respect, and that's all I'll say about it. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be good. Let's roll to the Chargers here. Chargers 11-6 last year. And Mekhi Becton, who was on the Eagles team, played guard. Be interesting. And Najee Harris, Khalil Mack. They lose J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Josh Palmer, and then lose their solid defensive piece that's been there for his whole career, Joey Bosa. I have them going. It's also year 2 Harbaugh, so I think they're only going to get better. So I'm going to take them. I'm taking them 11-6 again. Playing a tough division, obviously, but they're going to be good. Herbert, everybody talks shit on him, the most mediocre quarterback of all time, but they're not the most overrated quarterback that's playing right now, just because he hasn't been able to win the big game yet. But I'm a really big fan of Justin Herbert. I liked him when he was at Oregon. Like, he seems like a dude. But I have him going 11-6 again. I mean, it'll be a good team. You also play in the division with Mahomes, so you're not going to be a world breaker, but you're going to be good. Yeah,
it's ironic to say this because, like I said, I definitely between the AFC North, I would say obviously Kansas City's got, with the AFC West. So with the AFC North or AFC West, either one of those, and then I think we'll get to that later with the NFC North, are the top 3 hardest divisions. I actually have the Chargers going about 10-7, maybe that 11-6, because I am a firm believer that before you're just missing certain pieces, late game management, just again doing Charger type things. But I am a believer in Herbert. Like I said, 10-7, 11-6. Second year, another person I believe in, just like Vrabel, guy that's done it at every level, is say what you will about but Jim Harbaugh. And so that second year, losing Dobbins and Bosa, like again, set that mode as like he's on that short list of top 6, 7, 8 guys for years, when healthy. So that's gonna hurt them. That's why I actually have the Chargers being the 3rd team, and they were gonna be right in that 7-10 range. The AFC fighting for a playoff spot, in my opinion, because the other team I'm gonna assume that we're gonna talk about next, I think it's gonna surprise a lot of people in the AFC West. So I have them finishing 3rd, but still with a above mediocre record, or maybe I said, maybe they very possibly could be another year of the AFC West getting 3 teams in. I said I am a believer in Herbert. I have questions on the defense. I have questions on replacing Dobbins. I said, but we'll see.
Let's roll in my team here. Broncos 10-7 last year, made the playoffs, first time since Manny. They had J.K. Dobbins, Dre Greenlaw, Evan Ingram, DJ Jones, the safety from the 49ers, little Troy Palmo. I can't say his name. He's number 9. He's a dude. We lost Cody Barton and Javonte Williams. I'm fine with Javonte Williams leaving. Fumble problems, not after he was really good before his ACL injury, but now he's mediocre. We drafted Barron, Texas cornerback. Did a lot go down with Defensive Player of the Year last year, Patrick Surtain, and R.J. Harvey, who gives us another addition on top of J.K. Dobbins. But Sean Payton's installed it. Bo Nix has a great rookie season. Hopefully he takes that sophomore step. I have him going 14-3. And then I say
that's a bold prediction.
Yeah, I say our losses. Looking at our schedule, we lose to the Chiefs. We lose to the Chiefs once. We split with the Chargers, and we lose to the Eagles. But I feel like everybody else on our team, our defense is going to be amazing. We're good, really good last year, and we basically reloaded and revamped it. So I say 14-3. We lose one of the Chiefs, lose one of the Chargers, and then we lose to the Eagles in there. But that's just my opinion. I'm also very biased, but also I'm also looking for, like, we revamped. Hopefully Bo Nix takes another step.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great pickup. That's a great pick. I have them again. I'm sticking right around that middle to end, but I have them anywhere from the 5 to 7 range. I do have them making the playoffs. I do have them make about that 10-7 range, maybe. And they were that way last year. They very well could be 12-5. It's going to depend on what we see out of Nix in those late games. But he showed as a rookie, like, was not afraid of that stage. It's really going to be interesting in the next couple of years and this year too. But as far as like once they get out of some of that other Russell Wilson type money, like the other guy, now some of these other guys are still under their rookie contracts. We said, I like Sean Payton, another great offensive mind. Obviously in New Orleans, I said, but I feel like he had a reason to, because I wasn't a Russell Wilson believer, but I also feel like it wasn't a fair situation that he put Wilson in.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a believer. I'm a believer in Bo Nix, but I wasn't a believer like it'd be a good situation with, I thought, Peyton. And Peyton showed that, like, no, if you do it his system, his way, and that offensive mastermind, and it's like it really started to show. Even what was it, the first half against Buffalo last year?
Yeah,
as good as Buffalo. It was competitive. They came out and they punched him and they took the early shot, and made it. I mean, at the end of the year, I don't know how many times, like with the playoff, but Denver fighting for a playoff spot with the games on the line, like he's just dropping times. And it wasn't afraid. Same thing, wasn't afraid to play in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Denver is one of those teams that's scary because people don't realize. And I'll say this, like when Pittsburgh beat them, when they beat them early in the year, they were close games and they were figuring it out. And they didn't have, whereas at the end of the year, they started figuring it out. Whereas now, you have a bunch of young guys. You still got Sutton, who's a beast. You still have like a top. I think the last year they were top 3 in the most defensive categories. Like red zone, they don't give up a lot of touchdowns. You have Sean Payton, a guy like the same thing. Like, okay, if we can keep him out of the end zone, kick field goals, and then like Nix takes a step. So it'll be interesting what kind of weapons they add the next year or two. Their team, I think, it's on the up and up. We'll see how much they make the jump this year. Yeah. But they definitely showed that they belong. And they were good. And I hope it's not a situation where it was like we said the same thing. Well, this is our first show. But people said the same thing about Trevor Lawrence and how they played Kansas City competitive. We'll see if they take a step back. I don't believe they will. And I think that they said next year will be real. The next couple of years will be really interesting to see. But Denver's on the up and up. That defense is scary. They have most other teams, and having a guy, it certainly helps, like you said, defensive player of the year candidate, and Surtain. So it's just like that's automatically. He's one of those. He's one of those few guys in the NFL still, and even with today's rules, that's going to take away most people's number one, legit. So Denver. I said I do have, like I said, the 10-7 making the playoffs, and let's not forget too, when you talk about all-time great atmospheres. You have, Lambeau in Pittsburgh, and of course Arrowhead and Seattle. My old Mile House, I say the fans are passionate out there. So they're loud. So that's not an easy place to play, especially if are making noise in November, December. So it's like Denver will be really interesting. And I said I have them as the 2 seed, or 2 out of the AFC, and then being somewhere in the 5 to 7 range as a wild card team for sure.
Yeah. Let's roll into the last team here, the Raiders, 4-13. They add Pete Carroll, which is, a consistent coach that got Tom Brady's in ownership, so that probably has something like that. Has to have something, right? Like, greatest of all time quarterback. They had Geno Smith, Raheem Mostert, Max Crosby gets re-up, Devin White, Jeremy Chin, Jamal Adams. They lost. They didn't really lose anybody big. Like, lost about a lot of depth players. But then they draft Alshon Jeffrey, who we'll see if he was a good running back or not. It's hard to tell when you play at Boise State, you play Colorado States of the world. But I say the Raiders go 9-8 with Pete Carroll, just because Pete Carroll is going to bring that level of consistency. They're going to be good, but they're not going to they're just not going to be able to beat like the big dog, like the big teams in the league. Yeah. But they'll be good just because it's Pete Carroll. Geno Smith's coming out there. It's 9-8. It's also the Raiders. I hope they do worse than that. Right. But this is realistic. So.
Right. I have them. That's a good spot for them. I said I have them. The ceiling being about the 8 and 9, one step below. So they're probably more than I have them again about that 7 and 10 range. Just because I do believe Carroll's been around the NFL. He's been around football for a long time, so he's good. He's going to get the most out of him. And like you said, I do believe that having that knowledge with Tom Brady. I don't know how much to make of that. I
don't know how much.
But the guy obviously knows football and knows how to make that program. We'll see at that role what they end up doing. They have a really nice tight end in Brock Bowers, who's a stud. Yeah. Kelsey Tybuson. So they've got some nice pieces. But again, I still have question marks that I was a believer from a couple of years ago when Antonio Pierce. So I said I didn't know how much the coaching was. Didn't really just I guess the coach is responsible for that, but like the culture. I said, but I really liked what they had done, and so like last year taking a step back, I feel like they kind of gave up on him too soon. But Carroll is a guy that's a proven winner, a Super Bowl winner, been to multiple Super Bowls. They just don't feel like I have enough talent. Like I said, they'll be competitive because they're the Raiders, and they just usually lose more than they win.
Yeah.
But they said, but they're usually competitive. I said, and Bowers is a good piece. Having Geno Smith, that's another one that's underrated. People like kind of had that second life going to Seattle.
Yeah.
I said, but the same thing. And that's why I said if I wouldn't be 100% shocked if they go like in that 9-8 range.
Yeah.
But I have questions because
Thank you for listening to the Twitch and Buck Sports Talk, the first
That's
edition.
another thing where I was like,
Hope everybody enjoyed all of our takes. Please comment down below your favorite take that we made. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And retweet and
so I have the Raiders
follow on X.
in the division.
But we'll catch you guys leading up in the week 1. Thanks for listening.